Yo, what is up, y'all? It's Cone back here again tonight with another episode of After the Buzzer, the show where I recap the NBA games from the night. It's been a few days since we've had one of these videos. There are no games on Tuesday for Election Day here in the US. If you're not here, that's why there are no NBA games. But also on Wednesday, just wasn't much for me to talk about, and I needed to recover from the Thunder's double overtime loss to the Milwaukee Bucks. But here I am back to talk about some basketball. We've got some fun stuff to talk about, in particular, one team that is very much proving me wrong. But before we get into that, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of these videos, and let's go ahead and get right into it. Starting off, of course, with Blazers versus Pelicans, which Portland won by double digits in a game where they were the 9-point underdogs. It was one of the more impressive wins of the season for a squad that is now 9-3 on the season, one of just 3 teams in the NBA to get 9 or more wins. It's them, the Bucks, and of course the super team Utah Jazz, who can't seem to lose. But this was a huge win for them, beating a Pelicans team that has been really good so far and was at pretty much full strength. They had their full starting lineup, and it didn't matter. Portland was able to get wins. As I've said a million times on this channel, good teams can get wins without their best players over other good teams, and that's exactly what they did, winning this one without Damian Lillard or Yusuf Nurkic, and it came as a team effort. They were led by Jeremy Grant, who had 27 points, 8 rebounds, and 4 assists in 42 minutes. He was incredible all over the court. Every single minute that Jeremy Grant has played this season, he has left an impact, and he's done it in a number of ways, whether he's hitting huge shots, he has a game winner against the Phoenix Suns, he continues to do that, be a big time clutch shooter and someone that they can reliably go to for offense. He's a great rebounder, he's a better playmaker than he's been given credit for. He also gets in passing lanes, plays great defense. Whatever you need Jeremy Grant to do, he is willing to do that. He's completely bought into this role that he's been set up for in Portland. And on nights like this where they don't have Damian Lillard, he's able to step up and kind of recapture some of that top scoring option potential that he showed in Detroit. And it's really amazing for this Portland team to have an option like him. In years past, when it was just Dame and CJ, they never had a guy like a Jeremy Grant that could go out there and create for himself the way he can. Having him is a huge luxury for the team. I honestly wasn't sure how much of an immediate impact he was going to have on this roster, because we've seen him go and put up stats on a team like Detroit, but it didn't lead to much winning. And then when he was on like OKC and Denver, he didn't put up many stats, but his teams were successful. So it was up to him to kind of find a happy medium, and he's done exactly that. Coach Chauncey Billups has also put him in great positions to succeed. He does a little bit of everything, like I said, and every team needs that player. Being that third option that Portland has looked for so long, he has been integral to what they've done. Then you of course got Anthony Simons, who dropped 23 in this game of 5 of 18 shooting. Overall, a pretty rough night from the field for him, but on the season, he's been phenomenal. And a big part of it is because of how much he mirrors Dame's game. You wouldn't imagine that having 2 players with very similar skill sets would help you out a ton. You typically want a lot of versatile guys, but in this case, it really works for Portland. Anthony Simons, if you watch him play, all of his movements, his moves, the crossovers he goes to, the way he shoots the ball, even the actions that Portland puts him in, it mirrors Dame exactly. And that allows them to continue to have a cohesive offense, even if Dame isn't playing like in games tonight, or in moments where Dame isn't on the court and Simons is running the floor. It allows them to continue having that consistency. And that's something that's huge, because while CJ was great for Portland for many years, he didn't have a great game in this one. Anthony Simons is much more of a mirror to Dame, and like I said, that allows them to continue running what they need to run with Dame not on the court. It allows them to have a big consistency on offense, which goes a long way for this team's success. Additionally, he has explosive scoring potential. We've seen him have 20-point quarters here and there. He can knock down shots. If he gets hot, there are very few players that are more unstoppable from deep in the game than Anthony Simons. And where they got him in the draft years ago, he is a complete steal, and he has really stepped up big and played up to the contract extension that he got this past offseason. Another guy who had a really solid game was Josh Hart, who had 17 points, 7 rebounds, and 2 assists. He just makes all of the little plays that a contender needs, and he really slots into that starting lineup perfectly. He's long been one of the most underrated players in the league, one of the best rebounders at his size that we've seen in a while. He can knock down big shots, another player that has a game winner on the season, getting passing lanes, hustle nonstop. Josh Hart just continuously brings energy and really just kind of brings that winning mentality to this Portland team. They've also gotten a lot of winning contributions from some depth guys like Nas Little, who had 15-4, and Justice Winslow, who had 12, 8, and 6, and seems like he may have found a home here in Portland after bouncing around the league for a couple of years after Miami, they have found a lot of players that fit these roles perfectly, exact type of guys that they need. Drew Eubanks is another example, and they've done all this also without Gary Payton II, who I anticipate is going to be a huge role player when his time comes around. Then of course you have Damian Lillard, who, like I mentioned, did not play in this game, but he's looked like himself on the season, which is the biggest thing for this Portland team. They've got all these guys who are winning players and are helping Dame be successful, but if you're not getting the Damian Lillard of old, you can't really win ball games like that. But Dame being the old All-NBA guy coming back, huge bounce back year from last season when he was dealing with that core injury, he just looks back to Damian Lillard, which is awesome to see. And because of him and all of these guys surrounding him, Portland looks like a really good team out in the Western Conference. I didn't anticipate this. I didn't know if they were going to make the playoffs or even make the play-in tournament because of the depth out west. There are a lot of Portland fans that tried to tell me, we have Damian Lillard and a pretty solid squad, we can make it happen. And to be honest, I really didn't see it being this good right away. Now, as I say in all these videos, it is super early on. There's always a chance that they fall off a bit, but for right now, Portland looks like one of the best teams in not just the Western Conference, but the NBA as a whole. They have done an incredible job of building this roster around Dame, and to be honest, I wasn't a believer in what they were doing. I'm still a bit skeptical here and there, but it's working, and you know, when it's working, you can't argue with results. They're also doing it in a way that I didn't imagine, being a really solid defense. They're the 6th best defense in the league so far, and offense they're just 16th. I would have sworn it would have been the other way around if you ask me. When you've got Dame and Anthony Simons and Jeremy Grant, I would have assumed their offense would be pretty good, but they're still kind of finding their footing, and I think they will eventually, which is part of what makes them so scary. Because if they're playing this well defensively and their offense still feels like it's finding its rhythm, then they could end up being top 10 in both of these categories, especially, once again, like I said, when Gary Payton II comes back, who's a really solid cutter, and of course a great defender, building off of both of those categories. All in all, it seems like I just really underestimated Portland in what they were able to put together this past offseason. Shout out to them for building a really solid squad. Once again, we will see how much it holds up if they truly are one of the top teams in the West, but right now it feels like the playoffs are nearly a sure thing for Portland if they continue this trend. In other news, the Atlanta Hawks beat the 76ers in pretty convincing fashion, led by Trae Young, who had 26 points, 3 rebounds, and 7 assists. A huge game for him. He's been a little bit back and forth this year, still trying to find his rhythm alongside DeJounte Murray, who wasn't great in this one, only had 10 points, but this is a big game for him, kind of building that momentum. Clint Capella also had a massive performance with 18 points and 20 boards. Onyeka Okongwu had a huge game with a double-double off the bench, and all around, Atlanta just took advantage of a Sixers team that's really struggling without James Harden. They desperately miss his playmaking, his ability to create and orchestrate the offense. Hopefully he's able to come back soon. I know he was out for a month when he first got ruled out. It's probably still a couple of weeks away. Fingers crossed that he's able to come back sooner than that. And if he's not, Philly's in big trouble. You know, they've got Joel Embiid, who had a solid game. He had 26 points, 13 rebounds, and 2 assists. Tyrese Maxey has struggled without having another guard to take some of that pressure off of him. Tobias Harris doesn't have as many setup opportunities. It's starting to feel like Doc Rivers might be on the hot seat, which for Sixers fans, I'm sure is a dream, because I know all of the Sixers fans that I know want him gone yesterday. And we had Wizards versus Mavericks, with Washington getting a win over Dallas. Now 2 straight L's for the Mavericks, and 2 back-to-back games where Luka is held under 30 points. The first 2 times it's happened all season. Maybe he's cooling off a little bit, or also credit to these defenses. The Magic yesterday, shout to Jalen Suggs, did a great job, and the Wizards did a great job of getting the ball out of his hands in this one. Spencer Dinwiddie did end up having a revenge game though. He went crazy, dropping 33 points, 4 rebounds, and 6 assists. But if Luka's not going off, they're going to have a hard time winning. Also, no Christian Wood in this one, who would have helped a good bit. But all in all, Dallas is kind of reeling at the moment. They've got to find their footing. For Washington, Kyle Kuzma had a monster game with 36 points, 11 rebounds, and 6 assists. No Bradley Beal or Monte Morris in this game. Rui Hachimura also had 23 and 8. But real quick, I want to give a shout, go back to Kyle Kuzma, who has really found a home in Washington. I feel like he got unfairly scapegoated a lot of the time in LA. He's always been a really solid player, a good rebounder, a solid scorer. He just fits a lot of different roles. If you need him to go out and score you some buckets, he can do that. If you need him to just kind of shoot threes, cut to the basket, grab boards, he he can do that too. He's a lot more versatile than people give him credit for, and so I want to give a big shout to Kyle Kuzma, who in my opinion has been underrated for a really long time. Finally, the Heat get a win over the Hornets in overtime. It probably shouldn't have taken them till overtime to get this win, but a win is a win. Jimmy Butler had his best game of the season with 35 points, 10 rebounds, and 8 assists, looking like the Jimmy Butler that we know of old. Bam Adebayo had 18 points and 14 rebounds, a really solid performance from him. Not surprising due to Charlotte kind of having a lack of size. On Charlotte's side of things, Mason Plumlee had 13, 15, and 5, so he did have a pretty good game. Statistically, Kelly Oubre had 29 points to lead them with 7 rebounds and 2 assists. Dennis Smith Jr. continues to play well. He had 8 dimes. Rozier had 22 points. The Hornets did their best. It was an all-around team effort, but they just need a guy like LaMelo that can kind of settle the team down and take over in late game situations. They don't have him right now. He is, I believe, supposed to be back soon, but fingers crossed that it's sooner than later, because if not, the Hornets are going to continue reeling. They started off the season pretty well, but now it feels like they've lost almost nonstop. That's all the games for tonight. Go ahead and let me know your biggest takeaways down in the comment section below, and what do you think Portland's ceiling is on the season? Appreciate y'all watching. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and hit that notification bell. I'll see y'all later. A real one, say it back.